In this video, I'm going to show you how you can configure DNS and NTP in Cisco ACI. The configuration is pretty confusing. One of the reasons is Cisco ACI and generally Cisco doesn't have very descriptive and user-friendly GUIs. And for every piece of configuration that you want to do, you need to go and visit different pages, none of them related to each other. So this is what becomes confusing for a few people in this business. So what I'm going to do is to start with NTP first of all, and for that I need to visit again different places. One of them is going to be here. If I just go to system settings, you can see that there are a few system settings, some of them previously in other places, but now they have moved to here. Date and time is going to be one of the most important one. I'm going to click on that. And one of the reasons that I'm saying date and time is important is the configuration of time zone. You can say I'm going to show the time zone configuration using UTC, which is going to be Greenwich Mean Time. But you can say no, I'm going to go with local configuration. Specifically, if every pod is going to have its own configuration, local will be a good one. Let's say that I have let's say a data center in New York, and what I'm going to do is to find America, New York. I can just type it here, America/New York, and you can easily find New York here and then click on submit. Or you can just move through the this drop down list and find the place that you need to assign it here. If you want to have an offset, you can just click enable, otherwise you can just go and disable that. I'm going to click submit. This is going to affect the whole fabric. Right now I am of course working on ACI simulator, so I have only 2 leaves and 2 spines, but anyway this is going to affect the whole fabric, and I'm going to say okay, submit the changes. Okay, now configuring other pieces of the this NTP server is going to be under fabric policies. So I just go to fabric policies. If I just go down, there is pods, and under pods I have pod profile, and there is a pod profile default. So if I click on that, on the right I can see that there is, as a matter of fact, a default profile assigned to that. Opening here, clicking on default is going to show that right now the fabric policy group is not selected. So I can just click in here and I can create a new fabric policy, or I can just go and select one of the policies that I have created before. I already have created a policy that is called general pod policy. Let's see this one. I'm going to click on that. Because you don't know what I have done, I need to click on this little icon here. So this is going to open different policies that are here. After they have loaded, you can see that I have already created a date and time for this, but I'm not going to go with that. Just go through the list and see. Let's go with this. I can just click on here and create a new one. I can select the default one and edit the default one, or I can just be very specific about what I'm doing. Because this is pod 1 and I want to have date and time specifically for here, I just go with this one. So I select it, and just to make sure that we are on the same page, I click on this icon. You can see that I have enabled the administrative state. The server state is disabled. This means that this APIC right now is not an NTP server. I'm going to use another NTP server. So if you want to make this an NTP server, you can enable this. Then you would say this is NTP master, or this is just client of another NTP server and master for this. I'm going to say, for example, master. The stratum level default is 8, but you can go as little as 1, but normally you don't. You just go with some stratum level, and then if there is an authentication enabled, you can just enable that as well and create an authentication key down here. This is pretty self-explanatory, so I don't really want to go through that. What I'm going to do is to disable all of these and just go with the default one. So I'm going to close this. So I have created this here. So I can submit if I have made any changes, but right now I haven't, so I'm going to close this. I'm going to submit this one, however. Again, like I said, this is going to affect all of these devices. You can just click to show the details of that, but I'm going to submit changes. Next, I need to go to Fabric policies again. Here under policies, if I just go down, policies, there is a date and time policy. So if you cannot find it, you can open pod, and date and time policy is going to be here. Now, the policy that I created was date time pod 1 that I used it in this default. So if you have created this from that page, that should open here. That should be found here. And again, the same configuration. If you want to create a new one, you can just go create here and then go back to the policy that you have and assign it. So you can see that under policy group, I have this general pod policy, which has date time pod 1. So you see that from different places I can create this, and all of them, of course, are going to lead to the same place. Okay, so this is for NTP. What about DNS? For DNS, I'm going to first of all go to Fabric policies again. Under policies, under this should be global policies, you can see there is a DNS profile. You can open that, and there is a default one, but you can of course create a new one. Default one is going to be okay because the only thing that you're going to type in here is a list of DNS servers. So I already have a list of DNS servers, but if you don't, you can just click on this plus sign and then type in the IP address of the DNS server here and then click update and then finally submit. But before clicking submit, you need to make sure that the management APG is selected correctly. In my case, this is default out-of-band management. So I select this and then click on submit if I have not. So this is the most important part of DNS. That is, of course, affecting right now only the APIC, but I need to make sure that the whole fabric is going to be affected by this configuration. And all of them are going to use this DNS servers. What I need to do is to go to tenants, and you know that the tenant which I'm going to configure is going to be management. I can double click on the name here or find it on the top ribbon and click on that. And then under management, under networking, under VRFs, there is out-of-band management VRF. So I can open it, click on policy on the right, and you see there is a global alias here. I can just type in default. That's going to be the name of the DNS profile that I had there. You can of course click on different parts, but this is going to be the one that I'm going to change. Otherwise you can just leave it alone. But if you just type default, that's going to pull the default configuration for DNS, and then it is going to start working. Right? You can click on submit and finish. Like I said, unfortunately this is ACI simulator, so I cannot really go with the validation commands, but these are the steps that you need to take to enable NTP and DNS.